Hi, everybody. So I'm going to go through the lesson today on Screencastify because many of you have been requesting that in the survey that we gave. So this lesson's pretty straightforward, but I'm going to go through some of the parts that might be unclear or confusing for some of you. So again, as always, here is your due date. Please type it into here, find the one for your class, and make sure you know when this is due. Lots of people have been missing due dates because they're not pushing submit on their assignment, and that could start affecting your grade. So please, at the end, don't forget to push submit. Before you go any further, find your assignment checklist from either Ms. Ross or Ms. Smith and open that checklist and see if you're missing anything from last class. If you are, type right here what you're missing and stop. Go fix those things and then let your teacher know that you fixed them and come back to this document. Okay, so the first task for today is to update your terrarium blog. They've been growing now for a couple of days. I want you to grab your terrarium, and then you're going to open up the terrarium blog from Schoology. So go back over to Schoology, find your blog, and it should look like this. You've already done entry 1. Today we are on entry 2. Okay, so put the date, whatever date you're doing the entry post. So for some of you, it might be the 25th or the 26th or the 27th. Here, post a photo of your terrarium. You don't have to be in it this time, but take a zoomed in photo of what's going on, if possible, inside the terrarium. And then over here, you're going to do observations, maybe 4 to 5 bullet points. They don't have to be super long, but over here I gave you some examples. So for example, make observations about the water. Where do you see water in your terrarium? How much water is there? Are there drops? Where are the drops? How big are they in millimeters? How has the water changed since when you first made the terrarium? Then make some observations about the seed, the plant, the bean, whatever you put in there. Is it growing? If it is, make an estimation about how big. Is it 5 centimeters tall, 1 centimeter tall, 2 millimeters tall? Then make observations about anything else interesting that's happening in your terrarium. In mine, for example, there's about a 3 centimeter long white worm that's moving around my terrarium. I don't know how he got there. I guess he was in the soil when I planted it. But yeah, there's a little white worm. So I could include that in my observation since it's something interesting that's happening. And always try to be as specific as possible. So don't say something like the grass is growing. You could say something like, there's approximately 10 pieces of grass and they are each about 1 centimeter tall. That's an observation straight out of my terrarium today. Okay, so moving on to the new stuff for today, we're going to continue looking at carrying capacity and the way that resources can affect the population of a species. And today we're going to be looking at a really interesting species called the hermit crab. This is a hermit crab. They are so adorable. You usually find them on beaches, and they live inside these little shells. So here's a little review about carrying capacity. Before you move on, you're going to read about hermit crabs, what they need for food, water, and habitat. That's going to help you do the rest of the assignment, and this should be just like what you did last class. And then we're going to make a hypothesis. So don't do any extra research for this. Just go through the scenario and make a hypothesis. Hermit crabs have been very negatively affected by plastic. In fact, nearly 500,000 hermit crabs died on one beach last year due to plastic. I want you to write a hypothesis right here where you explain why you think plastic is making hermit crabs die. Why is plastic preventing them from getting what they need in order to survive? So type out your hypothesis here and then move on to this reading. So Ms. Ross and I talked with your humanities teachers. We were able to get these articles from Newsella in your different reading levels. Please make sure that you pick your correct reading level, not just the easiest one, and read the article and answer the 2 questions over here. So you've got 2 questions, and this should help you figure out if your hypothesis was right or wrong. Please make sure that you do not change your hypothesis. Even if it was wrong, that's not a big deal. We just want to know what you thought. We've got 2 videos here that go into even more detail than the article to help you understand how plastic is affecting these hermit crabs. You'll answer these 2 questions when you're done watching the videos. And then we're going to start talking a little bit more about carrying capacity. and whether or not it's possible for that line of carrying capacity, that limit of what an ecosystem can hold, whether it's possible for that line to change. Okay, so you're going to watch a video here. You'll hear my voice. I'll be explaining a scenario to you, and then you're going to answer this question here. What will happen to the carrying capacity in the scenario that I gave you? So you might say something like the carrying capacity will stay the same, it won't change. You might say something like the carrying capacity will go up, the ecosystem will have more resources, and so the species can, more of the species can survive. Or you might say that it could go down, that there will be less resources and therefore that there will be less animals that can be supported by that ecosystem. And then we're going to apply that problem to humans. So what do you think will happen to the carrying capacity for humans in the next 100 years? And you'll explain your answer in detail. Okay, your final activity, please do not submit and do not forget to do this part. You're going to find the formative assessment in the day 4 folder on Schoology. Your formative assessment today has 2 questions. Make sure you answer them both in detail. And as always, I just want to remind you that you have the choice to be academically honest. So make that decision, have integrity, even though we're not watching. Make good choices and make sure that you're not sharing any information about that formative assessment with anybody else. Down here, your schedule for your next class. And here you can go ahead and submit once you've done the quiz and the entire Google board. Your next class, please keep in mind, you are going to be having the summative assessment. So you will be receiving a form where you get to fill out when you're going to take that summative assessment. And instead of logging in and doing a Google assignment that day, you'll be logging in at a specific time and taking the summative, and it will be timed. So please keep that in mind. All right, good luck, everybody.